Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 595 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live, just about a few minutes delay. I'll explain why in a moment. Live on YouTube, as always. Whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. But if you're watching the live today, or should I say the undead, you might be able to enjoy a bit of seasonal banter. We have some comments. First comment goes to Alex, who says, hello everyone and happy Halloween. I love the Halloween top 10. My scent of the day is the Spooky Bal à Versailles. Very, very good choice. Oriana says, hello spooky skeletons. Hello everyone, says my little sample. Okay. Every now and then we indulge in a little bit of a fun list, as you know. I think this channel is the only place, is the only setting where I mark Halloween in any way. I never did anything to do with Halloween as a child, and I've never ever dressed up. I don't think I've ever actually dressed up in any sort of spooky costume in my whole life. I've certainly never been trick-or-treating, so this is a little bit odd. But I think we started doing these videos, in 2022 or 2023, and you seem to enjoy them. So who am I to deny you a little bit of spooky Halloweeny pleasure? I'm here, says Yvette, and I'm really, really scared. Oh, good. I hope you're scared. You should be really scared. What's the line? The Star Wars line, Yoda telling Luke Skywalker he needs to be scared. Can't wait for this. Top 10, says Tripty. Waiting for your recommendations for a treat thyself perfume purchase. Spooky hello from Dubai, says Rima. You're very, very welcome, Rima. Finally catching up with the spooky episode from Atlanta, says Tarek. You are all very, very welcome, as I say. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, then usually what I say when we're doing a fun video like this is that the channel is not normally like this, but every now and then it is. If you haven't already subscribed, please do consider doing so. You should be able to see and also click on the little bell so that you get notifications about videos. And you should be able to see a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below if you would like to support my work. And there should also be a link to my Substack. Okay, here we go. Keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming. Let us have an hour or so of a bit of spooky fun. All of our lists, all of our top 10s have a bit of a loose theme. And the theme for this year, for Halloween, has been at least partially inspired by some of you. Alex, I think it was you that said, and thank you very much for taking the time to make that suggestion, you said something about ghostly perfumes. Perfumes that leave a trace of themselves behind, perhaps in a not very, very obvious way. I really, really like that idea. I wasn't sure how I'd be able to pull it off. But I thought to myself, hang on, I've never done the really, really obvious thing of trying to pair up perfumes with classic Halloween dress-up costume characters. So that's what we're doing. We're going all out fun, and I've come up with what I hope are a list of pretty classic characters, interestingly. And I don't know what this says about, well, maybe I do know what this says about occasions and celebrations in general. There are a lot more classic male Halloween costumes than there are female ones. I know that nowadays pretty much anything counts as a Halloween costume as long as you're dressing up. I think you can dress up as Marge Simpson and that counts as a Halloween costume. But for today, we are going for costumes or ideas, characters, which definitely veer towards the spooky, the scary. There's one that's maybe a little bit less scary, but certainly has the potential to be quite scary. And I have also tried to prepare some fun visuals, and that is the reason why I was a little bit late starting the broadcast, because the tech was being annoying just as I was putting the finishing touches to everything. So hopefully the visuals will work. I think the visuals will work in the visual sense, but they may not work in the auditory sense, and you will understand perfectly what I mean in a moment. Okay, so we have 10 perfumes. Please let me know what you would wear to go with some of these characters. And I think we need to get going. Okay, so who do we start with? Who should we start with? I've got my list here. If I start with that one, then that's already the oldest perfume on the list, and I'm not sure I necessarily want to do that. Let's do this. Let's start with the classic Halloween skeleton. Now, normally my mouse is here on this side, and that is because I try to disguise the fact that I'm using it. But I may have to use the mouse quite a bit today, so I'm just going to make life a little bit easier for myself and scroll down. Now, you should be able to see what is about to come up on your screen, but hopefully you will also be able to hear me as I'm talking to you. So costume number 1 is our classic skeleton. Somebody let me know if you can still hear me. There you go. There's the skeleton, very, very helpfully created for us by Google's Gemini. And he's having a great time doing a bit of perfume shopping. And I think that I'm appreciating the reactions. I think that the skeleton, there we are. I think that the skeleton might want to wear Parfums d'Empires Mal Aimé. Oh, why isn't it doing that focus thing again? Right, we need to fix this. Right, because this is really, really going to annoy me. Where's my focus thing? Focus on that. Yes, much better. Okay. Don't you love technology? Mal Aimé. Why Mal Aimé? Mal Aimé is from... I need to remember that we're actually meant to seriously be talking about perfume as well. No, and now everything else is out of focus. That's really annoying too. No, look. I refuse to be defeated. Not that one. Not that one. It should be this one. Why isn't it doing it? Ah, it is now. Okay, so I needed to... Okay. Let's give the brand what the coverage it deserves. Mal Aimé from Parfums d'Empire, composed by Marc-Antoine Corticato, of course, whose brand it is. There's a wonderful idea behind Mal Aimé, which I kind of thought fits in with the idea of maybe in a very, very tenuous way, okay, of dressing up as a skeleton. Let's have a bit of a spray. The perfumes on this list are going to be a lot better than the costumes. They're a lot more serious. I had to, we have a bit of a laugh when I show you the costume and then get all serious talking about the perfumes. Because the idea behind this perfume was to take plants, maybe things like somebody I think just mentioned nettle, take weeds and plants that maybe are usually unloved, because Mal Aimé, I suppose, means badly loved, unloved, ill-loved, and to turn them into a really, really gorgeously done, slightly kind of iodic green perfume. It's very, very, very green in that grassy way, but because it's nettly, it's very, very sharp. It's got a kind of astringent quality to it, and it feels like, to me, it almost feels like the bare bones of a leaf. I don't know if as a child you ever used to do the thing of, where you take a leaf and you very, very gently try to sort of strip it so that you would just have the veins remaining. This feels like, this perfume feels like that. This perfume feels like stripping a leaf down to its bare bones, and it sort of shows that there can be, or there is, beauty in the fragile, in the skeletal, if I dare to take the analogy as far as that. And it is sharp and angular, like a skeleton, and there is something maybe a little bit forbidding about it, but also something quite fragile about it, and it's really, really curious, the fact that the skeleton. I think the skeleton has been a kind of Halloween, All Hallows Eve costume idea for a very, very long time, and it's funny to think that something as insubstantial as that, as a skeleton, is scary. I mean, obviously it's scary because it's meant to remind us of mortality, etc. But as a thing, a skeleton is quite non-threatening. And so I thought that Marc-Antoine Corticato's sharp green acerbic and yet also somehow quite fragile and delicate green seaweed, green nettle perfume would be perfect for our skeleton. So who wants to see the skeleton again? Maybe I should post all the images at the end on Instagram. And I'm so glad that I hope I did, because I had to set up each image separately and make sure that the image would still have the mic. So I should be able to tell on my monitor down here if you can't hear me, and if the system seems to be telling me that you can't hear me, then I will just be quiet and start speaking when I'm back on screen again. Thomas says, I'm still waiting to get my hands on a sample of their new vanilla. You do need to try the new Parfum d'Empire vanilla. It is excellent indeed. Who's that? Dennis Osbey says, I don't know if a better fit will come up, but I could maybe think of De Profundis for this one. Okay. I'm braving the cold in Berlin, says Offenlicht, with Cuir des Abysses. Always love here in Parfum d'Empire. Get a shout out. More Violette says, I always made my own costumes in the 5th grade. I just discovered Greek myths and opted to be a siren for Halloween. Ooh, good one. The outfit was totally appropriate, but the teachers were shocked when I announced the inspiration. Well, good for you. Good for you. Okay, we have made a start. Let's move on. What shall we do next? Okay, let's go. Let me find the image. Are you ready for this one, folks? Let's hope that the audio will still be there. Here we go. Next character. The next character is the Corpse Bride, and there is yours truly as a rather lost, forlorn-looking Corpse Bride, again at a perfumery. Maybe not the most classic of our... That is frightening, says Offenlicht. Yeah, well, it's Halloween, right? They're meant to be frightening. So, Leonarda from Spiritica says... Is that the Creed boutique, says Musa? I have no idea what boutique that is. For the Corpse Bride, I thought we would go to last year's 2024 by Calice Becker Arquist's Almond Suede, which I'm very, very fond of, as you know, from this brand. So, why Almond Suede? Looks like the Lurch Bride, says Dushan. Bubblegum chic for her, says Sense. So maybe we were thinking along similar lines. I thought that almonds are synonymous with weddings, are they not? Or at least they are in certain parts of the world. I'm thinking of those kind of sugared almonds that you get. Am I right that in Italy it's those things that are actually called confetti? Am I right or am I wrong? Some Italian speaker, please let me know. Runaway Bride from Tim Burton. And Almond Suede, of course, has a really, really nicely done almond note. There is something very, very romantic about it. Alex says a Creed boutique is indeed a haunted house for me. We need to, because we managed to somehow bring up Creed. I don't seem to remember how that happened in the last video. We need to stop bringing up Creed in pretty much every single video. Yvette says, yes, brilliant connection, confetti. Yeah, I thought they were called confetti in Italy. So we've got the almonds for the wedding, but of course it's suede and it's leathery and it's not exactly earthy, but it does start heading, if you really let your imagination run wild, into kind of like emaciated Halloween skin type territory. You know, leather and the Corpse Bride are scents that go very, very well together. Plus, it's a beautiful scent. I think if you were dressed as the Corpse Bride, this would be a brilliant scent to go wearing. And I should say, I don't know if I made this clear enough at the beginning, that the idea here is very much, I thought, okay, if somebody said to me, you know, I'm dressing up as a skeleton, what perfume do you think I should wear? That was my thinking here. And if somebody said skeleton, I would say maybe consider Malame. If somebody said Corpse Bride, I would say consider Almond Suede. Because I think there is something also very, very alluring about it, and also dangerous, like the Corpse Bride. Keep the comments coming, by the way, and give me your own suggestions for some of these characters. Helter Skelter Jones says, Luca Turin has written quite glowingly about the new Creed Oud. That's absolutely fine, and I know a lot of people like it. Offenlich says, but my Halloween état libre d'oranges are eau de protection, rien intense incense, and maybe like this because of the pumpkin. See, I wondered about putting a pumpkin outfit on this. I think if I had done a top 11 or a top 12, the pumpkin would have got on there, and that would have had to have been état libres like this. But we don't have a pumpkin with us today. Oriana says, there is a Casa Morati that claims to have skeleton flower, Casa Futura, I believe. What is a skeleton flower? Pray tell. I'm not sure I know what one of those ones. What are folks saying here? Frank Chaitown says, to Offenlicht. About some of the état libres. That's what I was thinking of. That might be appropriate for a corpse bride. Alex says, I think I would wear Portrait of a Lady for the corpse bride. Maybe. But this is weirder than Portrait of a Lady. This is kookier than Portrait of a Lady. Portrait of a Lady is so, just classically, utterly gorgeous. But Almond Suede has got that kink to it, which is also not what you would expect from a Calice Becker perfume. Dushan says, I think vintage Salvador Dali Pour Homme fits into this category. Maybe. Okay, right. Let us go to 1981. This image. When Gemini produced this image, which, I mean, this is extraordinary. I didn't have to give it very many prompts to come up with these images. I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, are you ready for our third character? Hold your breath, folks. Here we go. So, our third character, as you can see, is a pirate. Probably the least scary character on our list. And there he is, about to make a purchase at a very, very attractive-looking old-style apothecary-type perfume shop. And what would the pirate wear? Well, I thought that the pirate might go back to 1981. This suits you, says More Violette. Well, yeah, you're not the only person who said that. We'd go back to 1981 and go for Chanel's Antaeus, credited to Jacques Polge and also François Damachy. Now, as you know, I'm a huge fan of Antaeus. I love More Violette says, I'd like to work in this shop. I know, I would like to see that shop. I would like to find out where that shop is and go there. Antaeus is in my personal, well, certainly top 5. On most days, it's probably in my personal top 3. This is a very, very special bottle of Antaeus because this reached me all the way from Japan. It was held on, you know, my dear friend Neil Chapman of the Black Narcissus blog held on to it for me for ages and ages and ages, and then he managed to get it here, and then I managed to track down or get to the person who was holding it for me, etc, etc, etc. And he and I have had a kind of back and forth WhatsApp conversation about it, which he then essentially copy-pasted into a blog post on his Black Narcissus blog. There is a link to it from Persolaise.com and also from my Substack, so do check it out. Now, having sung the praises of this vintage Antaeus, I do have to say that the more modern Antaei in my collection are actually extremely close to this. I haven't compared it to bang up-to-date current Antaeus, and I really ought to, because I would be very, very curious to see what that's like. But I think this proves that certainly until very, very recently, Antaeus was in pretty good shape. Now, Antaeus, in many ways, a very, very, very classic masculine. If you kind of take one end of the spectrum of 80s masculines like Yves Saint Laurent's Kouros, composed by Pierre Bourdon, which was this huge beast of a hairy-chested monster with, you know, a massive bitter herbal artemisia note and a big civet note. Antaeus definitely kind of nods towards that territory, but is more overtly leathery and kind of traces its lineage back to a scent like Bondy from Piguet. Plays much more heavily with isobutylquinoline, this kind of classic leathery material, and I think also paves the way for things like Dior's Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit also, as you know, was a big leather. So Antaeus has got that kind of testosterone-y, chest-thumping feel of something like Kouros, but brings in a more delicate sensibility, a more refined sensibility. It is leathery, but I think its distinctive feature is this beautiful beeswaxy base. It isn't overtly boozy, and I think somebody said that I could have gone for something rum-like for a pirate, and that would have been great as well. But I wanted to go for something that evoked a somewhat old-fashioned masculinity, but something that was also woody and leathery and quite bold and quite courageous, a scent that might evoke daring do, those sorts of ideas, and so it had to be Antaeus. Lots of comments coming for this one. Back to, who's that? Patlster says, even for a gourmand, almond suede is brilliantly well-rounded. In most cases, I wouldn't consider it a gourmand, and it is really, really great. Antaeus is the best, says Dushan. Chanel is very true to their original formulation, says Alex. Offenliff says, Antaeus has always been a deep, dark brown leather for me, but some think of it as black, like the bottle. Do I think of it as black? No, for me it isn't actually all black. For me it's a very, very, it's definitely a rich brown leather. Oriana says, Sauvage is crying in a corner somewhere. Well, I have no interest in knowing where Sauvage's little corner is. Offenlich says, I just realised that I have so many spooky fragrances, something about them must draw me in. Now, that's a very, very good point at which to mention something that I was thinking about. When I was planning this year's Halloween list, I thought I would really struggle to come up with perfumes to go with these characters. But actually, I really, really didn't. If anything, I had 2 or 3 choices for almost every single one of the characters on this list. And I thought, well, does that say something about my collection, or does it say something about the fact that perfumery lends itself to exploring the darker, spookier sides of our psyche? And there's probably a bit of truth in both of those things. I would imagine there are probably plenty of people for whom even just having these 3 perfumes in their collection would be a huge no-no, that they wouldn't consider that at all. But it is interesting that I think, through wearing costumes, through wearing masks, we can temporarily be other people, but we're never entirely other people, are we? When we play these masked characters, we're always bringing something of ourselves into it. And one of the attractions, certainly not the only one of the attractions of perfume, is this idea of dressing up and make-believe and pretending and concealing certain aspects of your personality in order to emphasize and highlight other aspects of your personality. And I guess exploring darkness is something that is interesting and that perfume allows us to do. I recently finished watching the 5-part documentary about Martin Scorsese on Apple TV. Really, really excellent documentary. I want to review it for my Substack. As brilliant as it is frustrating. And at one point, I forget which episode it was, but he said that he always wants to explore the dark side of humanity in his films because it is in the darker side that the truth lies. So I don't know, what truths would these perfumes reveal? Offenlith says, I wonder if exploring things that scare us helps make them less scary, because after all, is there anything scarier than the unknown? That's a good point, yes, and maybe sometimes we learn some things. Anyway, bit of a diversion there. Let's move on. Let's do this one, because the image for this one is quite funny as well. This is a brand new perfume. So here comes your 4th character, folks. And yes, according to what I can see here, you can still see me. So our 4th character is the Mummy, and the Mummy has gone perfume shopping as well. I thought that image was quite remarkable. I thought the AI outdid itself there, or I shouldn't say the AI, the LLM, right? That one was quite something. I mean, it is recognizably me, and I should tell you that all I gave it was quite a basic sort of like, shoulders up image of myself, and my face wasn't even in, doing that expression or in that pose particularly. Often says the mummy looks somehow rather cozy in this shot. Yeah, I thought so as well. But it's remarkable what it can do. So, what's our mummy going to wear? Well, I think the mummy would want to or should smell of something that is earthy and funky and soil-like, but not entirely unattractive, because you don't want to wear an unattractive perfume. And so for the mummy, brand new perfume, a perfume from this year that was released only a few weeks ago, I think. We're going to go with Jil Sander's Earth, which was composed by Julie Massé. I'm really, really fond of this one. I think the entire Jil Sander range is interesting, and you can go back a few videos to track down my review of it. I reviewed all 6. Curious bottle as well. I won't tell you what Madame Persolaise said when she saw the bottles, but you might have some idea. But, if you haven't seen these bottles, you lift the cap and you see that the cap is all of that, and then the bottle is completely that shape as well. Let us have a spray of Earth. I'm only laughing because I've seen some of the comments. Earth, I think, is the most interesting of these Jil Sander. They are from a range that I think what do they call it? Olfactory Library 1? Olfactory Series 1. Maybe it was Olfactory Series. And the common theme of all 6 perfumes was that they showcased an aldehyde, an aldehydic note. Not a single one of them is a kind of obvious aldehydic floral, but you can see that the aldehydes are important in each of the perfumes. How prominent is petrichor in Earth, says Frank Chaitan. You do get that petrichor sense, but to me this is much more about earthiness, about digging your fingers deep into moist soil, moist earth, and kind of crumbling it through you can see the connection with the mummy, right? Crumbling it through your fingers and getting the richness, the brownness, the peatiness, that kind of patchouli quality, the humidity, the muddiness, and the funkiness, like maybe this is earth that has had mushrooms growing in it. It is a really, really fascinating piece of work, but what makes it even more fascinating than just the sort of basic olfactory profile of it is that it is very, very wearable, and that's something that Julie Massé has pulled off remarkably well, because she makes that strange earthy personality of the perfume very, very distinctive and very, very visible and very striking, but she doesn't overplay it, and when you wear it, it kind of comes across. The aldehydes are doing something very interesting at the top. I think they're just kind of lifting everything, but they're not your classic Chanel No. 5 sort of powdery aldehydes. These are more about wax and snuffed out candles, spent matches. Funnily enough, we'll come back to that note a little bit later. And that contrast between that really quite high-pitched top and then this funkiness in the base is what makes this intriguing. A must-try. The whole range is a must-try, I would say. Tarek says, Assieux de Vilat, Le Dieu Bleu is perhaps the most fitting for that character. Ooh, I don't know that one. A perfume conjured by an anthropologist and Dominique Ropion based on Kifi, the ancient Egyptian funeral incense. Ooh, gosh, now yes. I mean, Kifi would be the best one, wouldn't it? A white bottle perfectly matched with the mummy, says Rima. Offenlich says, I respect Jil Sander quite a bit for creating a range that attempts something rather artistic and unique. Taking risks like this is rare for brands. Yes, and also top marks to Coty, because at the moment the perfume license is held by Coty, so it is essentially a Coty brand as far as the perfume is concerned. And I think it's one of the most interesting things that Coty are doing at the moment. For my money, definitely more interesting than their Infiniment Coty range. More Violette says, I'm having a hard time thinking of a remotely pleasant mummy scent. Perhaps something strong and incense might be appropriate. Yes, something like the original Bat from Zoologist. I wondered about Comme des Garçons Rouge, because that's got that kind of earthy, beetrooty, root vegetables type feel. That would have been interesting. Dieu Bleu sounds very interesting, says Alex. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, somebody's just mentioned the thumbnail as well. We might return to that thumbnail. Okay, let's get a move on because we're nearly at the half-hour mark and we've only done 4 perfumes so far. Are you ready? Are you ready? Oh, let's do this. Let's do this one. Now, this is the image that I think looks the least like me. Although I think you can see that Gemini did kind of try and take my features as well. So anyway, character number 5. Are you ready for this, folks? This is, of course, the one and only, or it's supposed to be the one and only Morticia Addams from the Addams family, Persolaise Addams. Does she work in this shop? Has she just wandered in and is having... These perfume shops, by the way, wherever they exist, I think we need to see them. We need to go. Lovey-dovey's going, oh, mama. Persolaise Addams. I don't know whether she's channeling the Angelica Houston outfit or the outfit from the original TV series. I have no idea. She is Memoir Woman, says Dushan. That would have been a good one. That would have been... You're right, actually. That would have been a good one. But what did I go for? For Morticia... Are we ready for this? This is a perfume, the first version of which came out in 2014. But I am today, for the sake of mixing things up, I am going for the 2020 Parfum flanker, which actually came a few years after the Extrait flanker, just to make things complicated. And this is Cartier's La Panthère, of course, composed by Mathilde Laurent. They did such a good job with this bottle, didn't they? Did you ever see the Extrait bottle? That was stunning. I think the Extrait was probably superior to this Parfum, but I don't have it. All I've got in my collection, I think, is the EDP in this one. But such a beautiful bottle, and I'm so glad that Panthère is still around. Let's have a spray. Carnal Flower for this one, says Maria King. See, that would have been good. There are so many options for these sorts of characters, aren't there? Tubereuse Criminelle for her. Be patient. One of my favourites, says Alex. Okay, let's have a spray of La Panthère. I thought Mathilde Laurent wanted to suggest a kind of Venus flytrap type gardenia when she made La Panthère, and I think you definitely get a sense of that here. It's very, very heavy. It's very, very sticky. It's very intoxicating. It's quite wicked. But it's also really quite classy and quite beautiful. And I think that's always been Morticia's allure, right? You don't mess with her. She will have her way with you or any situation in any way she sees fit. But she is striking and she's supremely confident and she knows exactly what she's about. And also I think Morticia's always been a very fair character, hasn't she? Am I right? I mean, have I misremembered? I don't know what the Addams family are like now. I've never seen... Is it the Netflix series called Wednesday, which is meant to be basically about Wednesday? But Morticia's, I think, always had quite a strong sense of justice, and you kind of get that from La Panthère as well. This is a panther that will only attack those that deserve to be attacked. La Panthère Elixir is the best, says Que de beau. Okay, thank you. Or Que du beau. It's so wonderful, says Alex. Gothic, vintage and tempting. Gothic is a good word as well. Horrible beauty with warm-hearted elegance, says Alex. Yeah, I could like that description. Tina says La Panthère is so good. I love to wear it. It makes my spine stronger. Ooh, she is cold-blooded justice, says Dushan. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it as well. Such an addictive scent, says Perfume by the Sea. Yes, it absolutely does have that addictive quality. Okay, we've done 5, which means we're at the halfway mark. You're watching episode 595 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube. And we're doing our Halloween top 10. And for this year, the idea was to pair perfumes with classic Halloween characters. So, you know, if you wanted to dress up as Morticia, you might consider wearing La Panthère and so on. It's such a masterpiece, says Alex. Okay, we need to move on. Who have we got next? Let's do... Let's do this one. Let's do this one. I thought this image worked really well. Here, Gemini surpassed itself. Okay, are you ready, folks? Character number 6. So, Victor Frankenstein's monster wants to get in on the creation game, so he is creating a perfume of his own, as opposed to trying to give life to another creature. And you should be able to see a bit of a resemblance between that particular creature and yours truly. That was a good image, I thought. Oh, Le Labo Queer 28 is my guess. No, love it, says Frag Chaitan. Persolaise, says Alex. Yes. Speaking of which, has anybody seen the Guillermo del Toro version of the film? I am quite curious to watch it. I think it's doing the rounds at the local cinemas, and then it'll be Netflix only. And I don't have Netflix, so I need to watch it before it goes away. I think Del Toro and I kind of parted ways a little bit, but there's something about the stylishness of this one that might be fun to watch. Okay, so what did I go for this one? This is a perfume that was released in 2010, composed by Jérôme Epinette. I wanted something that smelt strange, that felt like it had a kind of industrial aspect to it, felt like, Alex, you're absolutely right, something artificial, felt like something really, really quite synthetic, but also something that absolutely seems to have life flowing through it. See, Rien would have been a good one, Johnny Toblerone, because Rien, the whole point of Rien is that it's got a bit of everything in it, and that's how the monster was constructed, of course. Perfume by the Sea says, Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, is buried here in Bournemouth. Her grave is so gothic and very beautiful. I've been to Bournemouth a few times. I've never visited her grave. I should do that, because I taught Frankenstein years ago at A-level in a sort of pairing of Frankenstein and that other famous character from round about the same time period. But anyway, what did I go for? I went for Byredo's M Ink, or M Mink. One of the strangest perfumes in my collection. But also really, really compelling, really interesting, as is Victor Frankenstein's monster. Grand Iris Rose Chypre, something with lots of iris. Oh, I wonder why do you think iris for the monster? So, see, on the one hand, you smell this. If you've never smelled ink, I know that Byredo's kind of gone off the rails lately, but this was one of the best things they ever made. If you smell it, on the one hand, I think you get a lot of incense. You could take this as an incense perfume. A very, very distinct, quite beautiful, quite haunting, cold, mineralic incense. On the other hand, you've got metal and iodine, and I think those are meant to be conveying the ink, and they do that extremely well. And it's sharp, and it's green, and it could also be the smell of a machine. You know, it could be the smell of some kind of machine fluid, I don't know, brake fluid or something like that, oozing out of some pipe or tube. It's fascinating. It's really, really fascinating. And it's one of the best evocations of ink in a perfume that I've ever smelled. Perfume by the Sea says, you should, Mr. P. Her grave is in the grounds of St. Peter's Church in the town centre. There's a pub next door called the Mary Shelley 2. I'm going to have to do this one day. Tarek says, speaking of pioneering female authors, Les Nuits of Astier de Villatte also comes to mind, based on Georges Sand's personal perfume, was resurrected by Dominique Ropion and a renowned anthropologist. I need to check out this brand, I think, don't I? Sécrétion Magnifique says, Tina would suit every item on this list. It is horrible and fascinating. Yeah, I did wonder about that one too, but maybe a little bit too on the nose or on the neck bolts. So yeah, I need to wear this more often, actually. Really, really curious scent. Okay, so we were down to the last 4. I know the 2 that I want to end with, so I guess which of the ones that we haven't done yet should I do? No, we've done that one. We've done that one. Okay, let's do let's do this one then. This was an amusing sort of image. Are you ready, people? Where's that one gone? So here we go. This is this particular character on a day off, and he's just enjoying some sunshine in his Californian house, because of course even the Grim Reaper needs a bit of sun every now and then. And in case you didn't know it, the Grim Reaper does have a house on the west coast where he often goes for a little bit of a swim. And here he is enjoying some perfume. What did I go for the Grim Reaper? Ah, okay. Now this is a little bit of a punning choice. A perfume from this year. The Grim Reaper likes cactuses, says Offenlicht. You know that for a fact? Or so I kind of thought this Grim Reaper has a bit of a sense of humour, and he would want to smell of something that is kind of maybe ironically referencing death, mortality, or immortality. See what I did there? And so I thought he might like to go for Immortel Solaire. Focus, yes, from Les Indemodables, composed of course by Antoine Lee. One of my favourite perfumes of the year so far, I think, one of the best from Les Indemodables that we've had. But also it isn't just the name that made me choose it. Lovey Dovey says, I'm sorry, but with that picture the Grim Reaper is rocking Cool Water. Well, on his day off, maybe he wears original Cool Water, but when he's going out doing his Halloweeny Grim Reaping, he wants to smell a bit more authoritative, a bit funkier. So it's not just the name, it's not just the fact that it's got immortel in the name. And I just love the idea of the Grim Reaper creeping up behind somebody and saying, hey, guess what? You're not immortel tonight. Something like that, but that's just my undergraduate sense of humour. Menelaus says, I always imagine the Grim Reaper wearing Chanel No. 5. Ooh, okay, why? Please explain. But this is also a perfume that smells somehow of the earth. It smells very organic, and the right side of putrid. And I know that I can say a word like that in this company, and you will understand that I mean it as the highest of compliments. Things like dirty, of course, funky, fungal. For a lot of us, they are high praise indeed. And Immortel Solaire doesn't cross the line, but it's starting to go into this territory of flowers that are on the turn. Gorgeous patchouli note that again brings out this earthiness. It's really, really great. One of the best from Les Indemodables. It channels a classic fougère, and I thought the Grim Reaper might do that as well for some reason. And there you go. There's Cool Water. There's the Cool Water connection. Really, really great modern fougère, or well, it was modern at some point. Probably not modern anymore. It channels things like YSL's Rive Gauche for men, and of course Original Brut. And I kind of thought the Grim Reaper would be a fougère kind of guy. Often it says, I enjoy Immortel Corse by Parfum d'Empire. Yes, that's a great one too. So much, but this could knock it off my list. Alex says, Madame Coco Chanel does have the strict vibes of the Grim Reaper. She was a tough girl. Okay, in that sense. Well, yes, I suppose so. Mind you, I do quite like the idea of the Grim Reaper also smelling like, this sweep of Chanel No. 5, this utter gorgeousness is the last thing you smell before you're taken away. Okay, 3 to go. Let me bring the image up. This, Alex, we go back to your original inspiration. Here we go. This is our ghost perfume. This image did make me laugh, because I think those hands are very recognisably mine. This is where I pictured a ghost living in a very kind of minimalist, Scandi elegance type house. What did I get for the ghost? Okay, here we go. So there's the Persolaise ghost. Perso Ghoul. The Perso Ghoul. From 2004. It is a Mark Buxton creation, Comme des Garçons 2 Man. Beautiful perfume in its own right. But I think one of the things that makes it beautiful is that you kind of think it's gone, but it hasn't. It actually has tremendous longevity, tremendous staying power, but quite low sillage. And I think that's always an interesting thing in perfumery. I never, ever, ever want to be without this particular perfume. It's the one for me for which I always have to have backup bottles. Spaced Out says, I tried Comme des Garçons Black this year and it's amazing. They had 2 blacks though, didn't they? I think the better black is the one that's stuck around. Mark Buxton's use of aldehydes is genius here, says Offenlicht. Completely agree. So if you've never smelt it, very difficult perfume to describe, by the way. You think you're getting incense, you think you're getting ambery notes in the base, sweetish ambery notes, you think you're getting pepper, and you are getting all of those things, but you're also getting snuffed candle that I referred to earlier, you're getting a match that has just gone out, you're getting the smoke of the match, so it's something a bit burnt, something a bit sulfurous, something faintly roasted, maybe just the quietest suggestion of singed hair, but it's very curious, very distinctive, very, very haunting, hence the ghost idea, and it really, really creeps up on you. It's a kind of perfume that you feel you need to overspray, but actually you don't, because it sticks around. I mean, just gorgeous. Probably the best thing Mark Buxton's ever done. One of the best ever from Comme des Garçons, for sure. Iridescent Kitty says, sounds so interesting. Is it wearable for every day? I would say so. Absolutely. If you haven't tried it, you really, really do need to. Offenly says it has a subtle nutmeg note that adds some real suspense to this scent. Yeah, you're right. Yes, there is that kind of... See, maybe that's what I was thinking of as pepper. There's definitely some kind of hot spice doing its thing there for contrast. 100% agree. Really, really beautiful. Okay, we are down to the final 2. Are you ready for this image, folks? No Halloween list, of course, would be complete without... tiny adjustment needed there. Come on. Good. Without, of course... a witch. We need to have a witch, and there is the Perso witch, the Perso crone, with the bottle magically hovering in midair above the broomstick. Zemfira says, Meo Fushuni Varanasi is so perfect for Halloween. Oh, I'd love to smell a perfume inspired by Varanasi. Can you resist naming Green Spell again, says Offenlicht. Well, I mean, I do resist it just for the sake of mixing things up. But Eris has got a witchy feel to it as well as a brand. And that was another interesting thing, because I thought there are some brands that definitely lend themselves to Halloween-y type ideas more than others. And I kind of surprised myself by going for an Antaeus, because when I was initially going through my list, I thought, well, we're definitely not going to have a Chanel on here. But then I thought, Antaeus for the pirate. Okay. But anyway, so... We had to have a Lutin's, of course, probably the epitome of the most Halloween-y, spooky type brands. And from 1998, composed by Christopher Sheldrake, this is Tubereuse Criminelle, one of many guises that it's been in. I think it's now back in a bell jar. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. It was in the Gratte-Ciel a few years ago. Which is Shocking by Schiaparelli. Okay. The original Opium for the Witch. Well, yeah, that would have worked. Criminally underrated, says Offenlicht. What, this one? Is this underrated? I thought this was very highly rated. I love it. And if I weren't so blind, I would be able to spray it. Okay. Easily one of the most gorgeous tuberoses of all time. We had to have a tuberose on here as well, though, didn't we? No Halloween would be... Oh, did that just go off? Oh, that's annoying. It's obviously run out of power. Never mind. At least it's stuck around for most of the broadcast. Strange, I'm going to say it, witchy, claws bared, tuberose, but what makes it different from something like carnal flower has a freshness to it, I think, a naturalistic quality to it, maybe from the coconut. And fracas, the queen of all tuberoses, fracas from Piguet, has got quite a... It's got a sort of Betty Davis larger than life type quality, but maybe it's not strange. Maybe you feel that it's coming from our earthly world, whereas Tubereuse Criminelle is something strange. It is definitely witchy. It is definitely supernatural and curious and compelling and dangerous and powerful. Really, really, really powerful. If I were doing a production of The Crucible, I would definitely consider spraying Tubereuse Criminelle in the theatre, because it's an odd scent. It starts off with this mentally medicinal camphoraceous note that then goes into a really, really bizarre gothic tuberose. Really well done. Offenlich says, I struggle with tuberose personally, so they're all very fear-inducing to me, even if I can recognise a well-done one. Good choice, says Yvette. Nuit de Bakelite too, I don't like either one. That would have been great. That's from Naomi Goodsir. Beautiful, beautiful tuberose, composed by Isabelle Duayan, I believe. Tuberose Criminelle, says Alex, is Betty Davis as a witch in a David Lynch film. Ooh, now that is a David Lynch film I would have loved to have seen. I like Nest Indigo for the witch, okay, and I guess we need to do our final one now. You can guess what's the character we haven't done yet. Perhaps the most obvious character, the character that probably I would have to dress up as if I did go to a Halloween party. I will give you 10 seconds to start getting some. 10 seconds to start. A vampire, says Offenlicht. Yes, it would have to be. And I'm not going for just any old vampire, but the most famous one of all time. Our final one, are you ready, folks? Is, of course, the good Count himself, Count Dracula of Transylvania, in case you didn't know. The Count, says Yvette. Vampire, says Morviolette. Dracula, says Striptease. I did think to myself when I saw that image, I thought, I need to get an outfit like that. I would probably also wouldn't mind having a house like that, or at least a room like that. Draculaise, says Alex. Very, very good. Very good. Okay, so there could have been so many for this one, right? There really, really could have been lots of choices for this one. There are lots of perfumes. Funnily enough, the brand new Bertrand Duchaufour creation for his own brand, for Anthropiste, apparently is meant to have a blood note, and I've ordered a bit of it, but it didn't come in time, because I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could smell this, this blood-like perfume, and wouldn't it be brilliant if I could feature it on the list? But I haven't smelt it. If you have smelt it already, let me know. But it's meant to feature a blood note. Anyway, so Children of the Night, what beautiful music they make, etc. Something really, really dark, something really dangerous, and something utterly, utterly, utterly seductive. I think, well, though this is what I chose, could have chosen other ones, but I decided to go for Acro's Night. Now, Acro is the brand that was co-founded by renowned perfumer Olivier Cresp. I haven't really kept up much with this year's releases, and I ought to, but Night was part of the original lineup that came out in 2018. If you don't know the brand, do check them out. I think some of the stuff is really, really beautifully done. They're very, very bold, big scents. My favorites are Ink and Smoke. They really spell out what they're about very, very directly. But I think that's their strength, and they are full of complexities, and they're extremely well done, highly, highly evocative. Like Bake is one of the finest gourmands we've had for ages. Perfect choice, says Jen. Oh, such good funk, says Tina. I keep meaning to try Night. Dark is one of my favourites from the brand, says Morviolette. Dark is that kind of dark chocolate one, isn't it? And I assume in this case it is the vampire making his victim sweat, says Offenlich. Thank you, because of course this also has a really, really big cumin note. So when you smell it, it's got lipstick, which comes from violet, and lipstick, I think smeared lipstick, smudged lipstick might make you think of blood, might make you think, is it lipstick on your collar or is it a couple of droplets of blood on your collar? And it also has a really, really filthy cumin note. And the Count has always been about a very, very kind of carnal seductiveness. He spends his time, in the darkness, under the ground a lot of the time. And so it had to be a kind of low down, funky, below the waist type perfume, and so it had to be night. This is really, really wicked. I mean, it's so wicked, but it's a wickedness that you completely want to be consumed by. This you would just happily kind of go, yes, yes, please, just do it now, quick, get it over with, because I can't wait any longer. It's the vampire partying hard at the Berghain in Berlin. Now, is that infamous club? I don't know. Is it meant to be that club that's like all whatever happens there stays there kind of thing? Powdery lipstick and cumin sound like such an unusual combination, says More Violette. Well, this is quite a weird perfume. I know that for some people, this is actually just too much. They cannot take this perfume. They think it actually crosses the line and it is too filthy. I think it's beautiful, and I quite like the fact that it crosses the line. Okay, folks, we are done. We are done. If you're watching the recording, please feel free to let me know what you would have chosen for some of these characters. And indeed, if you are dressing up or going to a Halloween party, let me know what you're dressing up as and what perfume you are pairing up your costume with. Europe's most notorious nightclub, says Alex. Yes, I guessed it must have been that one. Dracula would be one of the few people that would make it past the bouncers at the entry, says Offenlift. Yeah, probably from what I've heard. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the laughs. Stay tuned to social media for info about other videos coming your way. But until then, stay spooky and I will see you soon. Bye now.